Hello friends, myself Genial Mystery from Catalyst Classes, Silvassa. In the last video we have studied about the kinds of pollination that take place. Today or now we will be studying about the adaptations for pollination. Adaptations for pollination will be favoring both self-pollination as well as cross-pollination. There will be certain plants which will adapt themselves for self-pollination, whereas certain plants which will adapt themselves for cross-pollination. Let us first see then what are the adaptations shown by the plants for self-pollination. We have already studied self-pollination is, there you can say, development of, transfer of the male gamete up to the stigma within the same flower. So in case of self-pollination, one of the adaptation is called as homogamy. Homogamy means the pollen release and stigma receptivity occurs at same time. Like we had studied earlier also, there should be synchronization between the release of the male and female gametes, otherwise the fertilization process cannot be favored. So, to favor that synchronization, it should be always be taken care that the pollen is released whenever the stigma is receptive, or the stigma should become receptive only if the pollens are to dendricize themselves to release the, anthers have to dendricize themselves to release the pollen grains. Otherwise, it will be like the stigma recepts first but the pollen is not releasing, or the pollen grains are released but the stigma is not receptive. If these conditions take place, then homogamy, or you can say self-pollination, cannot be favored. The second adaptation is shown to favor self-pollination, which is called as development of cleistogamous flower, or that phenomenon is called as cleistogamy. Now, cleistogamy is nothing but development of closed flowers. Now, what do you mean by closed flowers? So basically you can say the flower remains in a bud condition. Example of this is the receptacle. Then the flower is going to remain in this closed condition. It is never going to undergo the process of anthasis. That means the flower will not bloom. It is not going to open, as a result of which the stigma and the pollen grains, they will be not exposed to the atmosphere. So what happens here is, this is the female reproductive part and these are the anthers. So basically what happens if the flower is cleistogamous, that means if cleistogamy is shown as an adaptation, then the stigma and pollen grains, when they mature themselves, since the flower is closed, the pollen grains, it will directly land on the stigma within the flower and the process of fertilization can be accomplished. Right? So in this bud condition itself, the flower is going to carry out the process of self-pollination. These type of flowers, they are called as cleistogamous flowers. Now, in certain plants like oxalis, viola and camelina, these are the plants which are going to actually show both the type of flowers. That means cleistogamous flowers as well as chasmogamous flowers. Now, we already know what are cleistogamous flowers. The flowers which never open, they are always in closed condition, and so they are always going to favor self-pollination. Casmoglamous flowers are the one which generally open themselves. These are the petals, the female reproductive part, and this is the anther. So the open, normal flower that you see which is completely bloomed, that is called as a casmogamous flower. Now in these plants of Oxalis, viola and camelina, you will always find that the casmogamous flowers, they are always present on the upper part of the plant, whereas the clistogamous flowers, they are always present on the lower part. Sometimes they can also develop within the, or you can say touch the soil. Okay, so this clistogamous flowers, what is the advantage or how they're going to favor self-pollination? As I said, they will never open themselves, and whenever the stigma and pollen they get mature and release of pollen grains take place, it is going to land on the stigma within the same flower. So always self-pollination will be favored. One more thing, clistogamy is going to make sure that even there is no agent, pollinating agent available, pollination is going to take place, right? Even if there is no pollinating agent, the pollination will take place because the flower is closed. There is a closed vicinity within which the fertilization process has to take place. Okay, it is of course going to assure the seed set, right, so that the fruit may develop. These are the two adaptations which are shown by the plants for favoring self-pollination. Now, advantage of self-pollination can be the flowers, the genes with the good genes will always be transferred into the next progeny. But again, if continuous self-pollination takes place within a plant species, the plants may undergo inbreeding depression. That means those genes only will be transferred from one generation to another generation, which will not lead to any kind of variation within the plant, and there are chances that the diseased genes can also be passed. So there are many plants, different plants which have favored cross-pollination. Instead of favoring self-pollination process, they have adapted themselves to favor the cross-pollination process. We'll see in the next video what are the adaptations for cross-pollination.